In this video, I'll give you the top 4 players to buy in Dynasty Fantasy Football. I'm Jim Coventry of RotoWire. Number 4, Kayshon Boutte, 22 years old, New England Patriots. After playing very little as a rookie, Boutte recorded 43 catches, 589 yards with 3 touchdowns, 68 targets. Nothing special, but here, it was in week 6. Boutte started to see that full-time role. He was playing most snaps. Beginning in week 8, the targets kicked up to 5 to 7 in all but one game going forward. He was on the perimeter 84% of the times, outside receiver, which is fine. Like people to play in the slot a little bit more, but that's fine. Here's what I thought, though. We looked at Boutte, 8.7 PPR points, surpassed it once through week 15. So it looked like it was a flamed-out season. Not really, though. The finish was strong. In 2 of the last 3 games, Boutte goes over 20 PPR points, averaging 6 catches, 106 yards, and a touchdown. He did have a 4 for 28 in there, but hey, Drake May, that's the point. Drake May's developing. Young quarterback, young receiver. Boutte was around a year before May, but still, they grew together. And if you're expecting, like I am, Drake May is going to be a good NFL receiver. Building that rapport with a young building block on the outside means something. It's not a highly competitive wide receiver room in New England. This is the opportunity for Boutte to build on that great end to the 2024 season, and that's a player you want to buy very cheaply in Dynasty Fantasy Football. Number 3, let's go to Buffalo with Keon Colemen, only 22 years old. Now, Coleman, he was inconsistent as a rookie. We'll get into the specifics of that in a moment. 556 yards and 4 touchdowns, 29 catches. So you see a high yards per catch. We like that. Now, week to week, like we said, it was varied in his role, but he had some high playmaking ability. He was like 4 catches over 40 yards. That was like 14% of his catches. And look, he was on the field 62 to 76% of the time. So he was a regular player seeing snaps. The injury. So he suffers an injury, misses 5 weeks, and then he comes back. And then there are 7 games left, including the playoffs. And Coleman only catches a total 10 passes, 161 yards, and a touchdown. He caught exactly 1 pass in 5 of those 7 games. It just was not working at that point in the season. But if you flash back, Coleman in the first 9 games before that wrist injury, he had at least 49 yards 5 times in the first 8 games. And I know some of those were big plays. I get it. But the fact that he slowed down after the injury, you really have to think. His progress was set back, practice time was missed, maybe not effective, maybe still hurt. There are a number of variables here, but I'm counting on the idea that that late season decline was due to that wrist injury. And I think with the Bills, and look, the Bills have been a more balanced team since Joe Brady took over the offense midway or so through 2023. And yes, Josh Allen's pass attempts were down like 100 from his previous norms. But Keon Colemen has a great chance of being the top outside receiver who can build and grow into his role. And fantasy managers have to be frustrated with the end of the season he had, which makes it a perfect buying opportunity for one Keon Colemen. All right, next we have number 2, Jake Ferguson, Dallas Cowboys. Jake Ferguson will be 26 this year. Now, this is an ultimate buying opportunity for Jake Ferguson. Now, Ferguson missed 3 games last year, and he also spent much of his time on the field with Cooper Rush as his quarterback. So it was a disappointing season. 59 catches, 494 yards, doesn't even score a touchdown. But still, when he had the ball in his hands, 60th percentile yards after the catch. He's not a catch and fall guy. Hasn't been. He's a weapon. But here's the deal. Dak Prescott missed half the season, and Prescott will be back. We know over the course of Dak Prescott's playing career, regardless of who his tight end was, whether it was Dalton Schultz, whether it was an aging Jason Witten, or even Ferguson, Dak Prescott consistently gets the ball in the hands of his tight end. Now, last year, Prescott and Ferguson played 7 full games together. Remember, we talked about how disappointing Ferguson's season was. But in 3 of those 7 games, where Prescott and Ferguson played together, at least 70 yards. And there were 4 games where Ferguson got you at least 11.9 PPR points. Now, once Prescott was gone, Ferguson was held below 25 yards in 5 of 7 games. It was not a Jake Ferguson problem. It was a quarterback problem. And Ferguson, as it stands, has an excellent chance of being the number 2 receiver in the Dallas offense behind CeeDee Lamb. But even if he were to move to the number 3 option, if they pick up a really good receiver, or if Jalen Tolbert has a breakout, we still can look at this as an opportunity where Ferguson, coming off the bad year, is a great buy, because as long as he's tethered to one Dak Prescott, he is going to be a successful fantasy football tight end. Hey, if you enjoy videos like this, please consider hitting that like button, and you can subscribe to the RotoWire Fantasy Football channel on YouTube. Also, you can check out all of our fantasy football content, all of our sports, all of our rankings. You get a free 2-day trial. You don't even need a credit card. Head on over to rotowire.com/Jim. You can check out all of our content. If you like it, join the team. If not, we're always just glad that you took a look to see what we're all about at RotoWire. All right, we are at that time. The number 1 player to buy in Dynasty Fantasy Football, Jaylen Waddle. I know. He's 26 years old. Look, Waddle had the worst season of his 4-year career. Pretty much across the board, it was a washout. We could blame earlier inefficiencies on injuries that he had. Can't really do that last year. 744 yards for Waddle. That was 270 less yards than he had in any other NFL season. 58 catches. That was 14 less than his previous career low. First few seasons, averaged 6 touchdowns. Yep, got you 2. So we're not excited. Even the targets. He was averaging 121 targets, 2021 to 2023. 83 last year. Do I need to tell you any more doom and gloom? I don't think so. It could not have gone worse. Here's what we need to understand. Tyreek Hill's still a superstar, and I get he played through a wrist injury. He needed surgery. But at this point, he's 31. Might be slowing down a bit. The Miami Dolphins last year, how did they play offense? Defense has tried to take away Hill and Waddle. And so Mike McDaniel, the coach, was very happy. Dumped the ball to Devon Achane. Dumped the ball to Jonnu Smith. Take that. They were losing games. They were not a successful football team. Mike McDaniel has to know his career is on the line here. How do you fix the offense? It's not more Jonnu Smith. It's not more screen passes to Devon Achane or Achane to start. You use him as a runner, of course. The key is get Jaylen Waddle back involved. He has elite speed, separates quickly. We know all this. We've seen this. Last year was just a big mess from the coaching organization and the team. And I don't know if Tua Tagovailoa is going to hold up. But regardless, Jaylen Waddle, in my mind, will be a priority for Coach McDaniel. And if McDaniel doesn't last long, whoever the coach is after that, sign him to a long-term contract. Jaylen Waddle is a player you want to target now while he's at his lowest value in Dynasty Fantasy Football.